Alright guys, so our agenda for today, our goal, we are going to look at our QCA second semester test, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through it and we're going to see what we need to cover for our students, what we need to go over, and we also are going to just make sure our timeline is correct before we get started. So
I wanted to ask, what we talked about, maybe do it on the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we could do it on the 13th, just so we don't have to have a lot of kids and make it up, rather than putting it on the 14th and then?
my only fear is that if you only do one day of review and take it the next day, students won't do as well. We found that in the past, they need 2 days of
I just don't know,
review.
with looking at our timeline.
We
if
could
we can
offer
figure it
for
out.
the orchestra kids if they wanna do it that Tuesday.
Yeah.
Maybe, if
Maybe.
that's an idea
I
y'all
think
wanna
that's a
do.
good idea.
But, I mean, last year, this was the worst exam for the kids last year.
I just hate for them to have to wait all that break and then come back in and take the test.
Well, I agree, we need to do it before the break, but doing it on Tuesday, not only do we lose a day of review that way, that gives us 3 days before the break that they think they're already gone, so it's gonna be harder to rein them in on those days.
Okay. I just wondered if that was could be an option, but that's fine.
I think we should make it, like you said, optional to those who wanna take it early.
For sure.
Yeah.
At least
Okay.
for them early, we could do that, and then.
Charge them $12.
Charge $12. So we'll do y'all, are y'all still comfortable on the 14th?
Okay.
Just aim
Yeah,
for the
that's fine.
14th.
Either one's fine with me.
Okay.
Or just offering it, like I said.
Offer it, okay, cool, so we'll do that, so that's the date. Alright, so on the test, there are 2 law of conservation of mass and counting elements, there's 1, counting atoms, there's 2. Balanced and unbalanced equations, there's 2 more, so that's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's a total of 7 questions about chemical equations, what we covered right before we started the physics unit. And then there is 4 physical and chemical changes.
And that's always seemed to be their weak point.
Yes,
It seems to be the one that they dib down on.
yes.
It was the last time.
And then for the forces, so for physics, there's 1 where they have to describe net force. There's 3 calculating force.
We've done well on that this year.
There's only 1 Newton's law question. 1 potential and kinetic question. There's about 4 questions going over velocity and speed, knowing the difference or calculating. And then there's 3 motion graph questions.
I'm going over motion graphs right now.
How are they remembering those? Because that's actually something they
Deer
do
in
in 6th
headlights.
grade.
Deer in headlights. We can't,
They struggle.
I can't get through to them that it all depends on what the y-axis is. The
Mhm.
x-axis is always going to be time, and they have trouble distinguishing exactly what the graph is showing them. Is it showing them speed? Is it showing them velocity? They don't. It's hard for them to make that intermediate distinction.
And so I was gonna cover that more next week, but with graphs, and then energy transformations, there's 1 of those.
Okay.
And I have kids that don't remember those at all, because I asked, I
There's
had a
only one?
pre-assessment, there's only 1. So, knowing that there's only 1 for this QCA, we really could just spend probably 1 day on energy transformation, and 1 day on kinetic and potential, and then the rest for speed, velocity,
So we
acceleration.
can
We
do a day
really,
on just the energy things.
yeah, we.
The energy, that's a 6th grade peak.
That
It
is.
goes all the way back there.
But we just need to go over it so they understand, so when we go into weather, we can connect it back with weather.
You know, I've got the 6th grade book. I could make packets where they went over it. I can do
That'd be good for those elective kids, so they get just the extra practice. Cause it's just vocab. That's all they need to know when they see a word. That can they recognize what it means?
We taught him Mrs. Chin.
Mrs. Chin.
Yeah, that's the 7
Mhm.
MRSCHEN.
Oh.
Mechanical, radiant, sound, chemical,
Mm, write
heat,
that down.
electrical, nuclear. And then of course for heat, it's really thermal, but we taught them that little acronym
Okay. Miss Chin.
for the different ones. Now whether they
Right.
can recognize
The different ones.
what some of the different ones, how
How it
some
works.
are different,
Mm-hmm. Well,
but as far as knowing, okay, those are the different ones.
that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Miss Chin. Okay. Awesome. I like acronyms.
And,
All right, so that is everything on the QCA. So I went back and looked through like my first QCA and just some old data, and I don't know about for my kids, math. Anything that involves calculating, those were my weakest test questions. They were 80 or below. Like,
And I find about 20% of my people who are doing the math make mistakes bubbling it in
That's like,
consistently. They lose track of where the decimal is.
Or they forget to round to the nearest tenth.
yes,
That's
like it
always a bone
explicitly
of
says.
contention to me. Like,
Because they might have, like I had several that put 6.17 but missed it because it should have been 6.2.
right.
So,
Based on what I've seen, I've noticed that at least my kids, our reading comprehension's really low.
yeah, anything
Lower.
more than one sentence and
And
it's like they shut off.
and they
Yes.
miss stuff like that, nearest 10.
I mentioned that in my class, and that's what one kid said. He's like, "Yeah, if there's too much reading, I just give up." And I guess, well,
And so,
you know,
I
I had
think
one kid this morning not know what a puck was on that one question about the hockey puck. He didn't know what a puck. He goes, "What is a puck?" So I
interesting.
didn't think that anybody would not know that, but he said, "I don't know much about hockey." Okay.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
What I was just gonna say is we need to, do y'all, for strategies for warm-ups, I think we should start giving them old start questions. Cause
Yeah,
that's
I've got
what's QCA,
I've got a smart file of those. It's
Mhm.
just star question after star question after star question. And I let them look at it and let them answer, then I go over them and prove to them why this is the right answer and these are the wrong answers.
I just think,
so it's on Smartboard? Is
Yeah.
that something you can like share?
I can share that.
oh, you've made like, you combined them all together?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
It's
you
like
should have.
one question on each page.
Yeah,
That's
that'd be really
fine.
nice.
That'd be great.
Yeah, if you can share.
Some of them are a little fuzzy to see, but it's still
Yeah.
out there.
I just think we need to be doing more modeling of how do you break down the question.
Right.
And I've been doing that a little bit, but I need to do it more for sure, cause I think
'Cause a
that's
lot,
what's
yeah.
hurting us
A lot
on
of
the
it is test
district
taking
assessment.
skills
We talked about
and
that some
reading
today.
comprehension.
Because I went over the test today, the Newton's Laws test with them. And that's kind of, we talked about some of those test taking skills. So, yeah, that's a big part of it. And that's
Yeah.
one thing I did tell my classes, we probably should do more questions like that, where they get to practice them before we get to the test, because, they are hard. And I told them that, we try to model them after, STAR tests and questions and that sort of thing, but
Right.
I think they do need more practice with answering those higher level kinds of questions,
And they
putting it
have-
all together.
They have to be drugged kicking and screaming into doing that
Mhm.
because they're naturally resistant to that.
They want those easy ones that, it's the easy answer there.
Mhm.
Right. I think showing them that. But did y'all find that when you looked at your data too, that it was just math?
Yes.
It was a lot of math.
Yes.
A lot of it was math.
So I've emailed I emailed Paulette about having the math teachers possibly at least do warms with no calculators. But from what I've gathered from the kids, that's not really happening, which I can't blame them. The math teachers have 67 TEKs they have to cover right before March.
I think
So-
my question would be, if we're gonna leave them in there like that, can we, maybe make them, if we're not gonna let them use calculators, make them to where they're easier to work out, where they come out to whole numbers or something, where it's a test of their knowledge and not of their math skill.
Right. And I agree
Like
with that.
something they can do in their head even though they can still
Well, then
write it
we're-
on the paper,
We're
but
gonna
it's
run
still not.
into the conundrum between what you two just said, is they can't, when we get to the star level question, it's not
That's
going to
what's-
be like that.
Yeah,
Let's see, if I pull up a STAR test real quick, let me just pull up the one from last year. I'm curious at the math now that you said that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering like how many of those are gonna make them calculate out long division. I don't know how many of them are.
They're
Couple
There's
of
some
them.
in
I
there.
know
Every
when looked
year.
before,
They
yeah.
don't even like the word long.
long division. Let me
A
look.
lot of mine don't even know how to do it.
They don't.
They literally don't practice enough math
Mm-mm.
that I feel like I have to teach it to them.
Well, and even sometimes with multiplying things, they
They can't.
get all their columns mixed up, cause I had a lot of kids, you know,
And if
they have the
there's a-
right numbers, but they're kinda just out of
and
column a little
if
bit,
there's
so
a
they add them up
decimal in there,
incorrectly, yeah.
it's over. They don't know where to put that decimal.
It's like you wanna give them graph paper to work math so they can line everything up.
I don't know how the math teachers do it.
We can ask them so we can talk to math
Mhm.
just to see, and just ask them again. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking through. I'm just looking through last year's just to see what they did last year.
How many of them had
Yeah.
those kind of questions?
About a month before this, STAR test, I'm gonna start working with those elective kids on test taking skills. How do you answer this question?
I think, some of the warm-ups seem to be ones then too, that are those math ones.
I think we need.
And then, I wanna make up a little bubble sheet and some of those kids practice bubbling and,
Agreeable.
and rounding, yeah. Practice a little
And
bit
I
of
run
rounding.
into resistance in my classrooms when I try to do that because the kids think that's beneath them. Yet when they're asked to do it, they
Okay.
fall short.
Just scanning 16. Oh, let's see. Well, they had to find the average speed on a graph, but it was like 20 divided by 2. So, or excuse me, I misread it. It was 2 divided by 20.
So
Still,
But still,
still very
it's very simple number.
very simple.
You see,
That one.
two divided by 20, they are going to turn that around.
They will. They'll do
20
10
divided by
instead
2.
of 0.1. They'll do 10.
They will do that.
So,
But they also, I mean, how many, are there any grittables at all?
there were a
Yeah,
couple.
there'll be at
There's
least one
usually
or
2 to 3. But there's also 10 field questions. At least last year there was 10 field questions that we won't see.
And there are 3 on the QCA.
There are 3 on the QCA. There's about 2 to 3. I want to say wasn't there like 5 last year?
I was thinking more like 3.
3 last year? I want to say there was a lot.
On the grittables, are they having to do like
I have
the decimals and all that?
Nearest
Is
10.
it just not showing them on there?
It's usually the nearest 10.
I can have a copy of one here too.
They had to calculate work. But yeah, any with that, those were simple numbers.
Well, I would just wonder, like, even the ones that are grittables, are they, something that comes out to 2.5 or something like that, where
Here's one. A bus travels 20 kilometers in 30 minutes. What is the average speed? So, it's 20 divided by 30.
well, they do that to convert it into hours? Does it say?
Yes, they do.
So there's
And that's-
conversion.
Hours.
Yeah, that's another thing that they're doing.
Yep. So they would have to say
keep
20
trying.
divided by 25.
Mhm.
I try to tell them that's not a math question, that's a logic question. If you go 20 miles in 30 minutes, how far are you going in an hour? There's no math involved, it's a logic question.
So,
One of the grittables on the
Don't you remember
QCA
electrons?
deals with
No,
figuring
but
out
This
number
is
of
just us
oxygen
That's what I'm saying,
atoms.
like, the
They have to
grittables,
multiply 4
I don't
times
think
3,
are what we are,
and then multiply that by
On
3.
the current test that we have, so it's just,
yeah, I think, like there was an example of a grittable on here, and it was, what was the difference in electrons?
yeah, so it'd be just
So it's a
a
whole
number.
yeah.
So
And
I'm
there's
like,
some like that simple.
but I feel like every test we've
That we've
had,
given, yeah,
we've
on the
had
QCA.
something on there where we've had to round.
I can-
I mean, they better not miss it because we practiced it a lot, but I'm just wondering,
We're not showing there that they know.
are we showing that they actually know it or not?
Right.
Right, here's one. What mass of calcium carbonate to the nearest hundredth of a gram?
Well, but even then, isn't that just a math? I mean, that's addition. That's not the multiplication division one.
Half of my kids would make that 3 decimal places, because 100 is 3 numbers, so 100 must be 3 numbers.
Well, I'm just saying that even this one, the one that she's showing now, it's a math. It's an addition problem. It's not our long division that we keep seeing.
Yeah.
Because the gridables worse. I mean, the two right now have both been either addition or subtraction. They haven't been long division.
Well, this one involves 3 steps, well, 2 steps, you have to multiply 4 times 3 and then multiply that by 3. They're gonna get to 12,
You're on the QCA.
right? And
I'm
then
talking about on
question
the
number 8,
release star.
it's gonna stop.
He was just talking about this test and what kind of math we had.
Yeah, because this is another one where they have to do more than one thing.
Yeah.
If they just wanna
The
multiply 4
multi-step
times 3,
ones.
they're great.
Yeah.
But if you do 4 times 3 times 3, many of them are not gonna go that far.
You know, it's not like I completely dislike it because it makes them work harder than what I'm seeing on their star. But at the same time, we're seeing the real, do they know it or not, knowledge.
Right.
and
I agree with that.
comprehension, are we actually seeing
Well, there's a
So-
difference between do they know it, and can they use it?
That's true.
And
So
all
we,
of the STAR
The
tests are leaning
application
towards,
of it.
can they use it?
so I know we can't, I mean, this QCA is set, but for the next one, we can just talk about the math, just asking it to just show, do they know it, not, do they have the math
I'm
skills?
just wondering, like, if we go through and look at all our release stars, how many of them are long division? How many actually are? Because I haven't
Right.
seen that.
There's not very many, but they always put a decimal in there, so I think,
I mean, maybe if we looked up density, would there be some
Yeah.
in there? Maybe. If we could find some of the density ones from the release star, there might be something.
there's density every year. But that was, when I was looking at our data, that was where we scored the lowest on the first QCA, which we already knew that.
The density stuff. Yeah.
Density, I mean, everything was, upper 70s and above, and then density was a 35 because of all the calculations with math,
Long division again.
yeah.
I'm looking again at the QCA in question 19, they have to do 4 calculations to find the answer. They have to figure
Multi-steps.
out the force for each of those to determine which is the greater.
That they're gonna have to do.
It's a pretty long test.
It's gonna take them,
Questions.
it's gonna take a long time. Cause it involves so much reading.
And, that's another thing to think about is it gonna take 2 days?
Let's see. Cause our kids last year finished it. in
No,
February.
there's no other version of this, right? There's one version, there's no modified.
Modified.
And there is a retest, I just made the retest. I sent it to Lisa.
The only thing good about 19 is at least it's easier numbers to work with.
Yeah, it is.
It's
And if
just-
they break it down, it becomes easier, but still.
So going back to math, we know they're gonna struggle with the math, so for warm-ups, can we set a team goal maybe to do, try to include math in your warm-up at least twice a week? Should we do more than twice a week, make it a team goal?
Yeah, I mean, math was in mine today. Because
Yeah,
I
mine
did a
too,
balanced
we had the same.
equation. Made them, because I'm trying to spiral back to that.
Yeah,
And
I had math yesterday and I'll do it again tomorrow, so.
no calculator. So let's try to make a team goal of 2 to 3 times a week, just some sort of math.
I can't do, it's difficult for me to enforce no calculator.
Right,
because you get a lot that have
70%
accommodations.
of my kids have the accommodations.
Same with
And-
my inclusion class.
There's no polite way to tell someone they can't have you can't have this because you don't have an, no, can't do that.
Right. It's hard to get around that sometimes.
That is true.
Mhm.
Well, maybe we can have them at least set it up for those kids that in that class. Hey, show me how you would set it up before you,
Right.
or
You have to
attempt it,
show
or
it.
show the work
attempt it.
first.
Right.
Show the work first, and then put it in and see how far you were off, or if you got it right, to check it.
That would really confuse them if we asked them to set it all up, but then not really solve it,
Yeah,
That's
true.
Most of the time it's in the setting up that they,
Mess it
Yeah.
up.
That's usually where they mess it up. Like when we were going through all the F equals MA stuff, I mean, making them show their work, a lot of them will catch their mistake because, yeah.
Yeah, using that.
But they still want to flip it. I mean,
Yeah.
if
If
the
they wanna
numbers,
flip it, they don't wanna end up with a number less than 1,
yes.
and they don't wanna end up with a negative.
Anytime there's 2 numbers, they always put the greatest one on top
Mhm.
every time.
So then
that's
some
why I
of our
told them to
math
write it
should be-
out, cause it's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you know better.
Some of
it's
them will
easy to
even
do
put the equation out right, and then by the time they figure
Yeah.
the math, I'm like, how'd you?
Yeah.
If you look at the way you set it up, it's got to be less than 1. It can't be more than 1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's true. Okay, so 2 to 3 times a week, and we'll try to, for me, I'm gonna try to do, add the problems where like they're dividing a bigger or a smaller number by a bigger number.
Yeah.
That
I
way
need
they
to
can
see it.
practice that and see it. And then Caleb, you said something good about spiraling old material in as warm-ups too. Because since we have the QCA in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna
just
try
so
to
they
do
don't
it
forget
all the
it.
way through. Just spiral back. I mean, Newton's laws in there, and then the
Mhm.
chemical equations, just so they can get it.
And we're back to energy levels today.
It's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, because if over, what is it? Right at about 1/4 of the test is chemical equation stuff.
And then there's
Yeah.
like 2
Chemistry.
parts of the atom and 1 about reactivity. Right, so that's 3. And 1 periodic table, so that's 4, excuse me.
But it was good when I did my one today. They were like, "Wait, I have to think about how I did that." Like they're all like trying to look back in their notes, trying to figure out how they did it. Some of them remember it right off, but some of them had to go back and look because they'd forgotten.
It's good though, at least we went back and looked at it. So math, we're gonna do 2 to 3 times a week. Spiral and old for warm up, and then how did your kids do on your Newton's law test? Even though it's not really on the QCA, it's still going to be on the STAR test. How did your kids do on that test with us doing ELM?
I will say that my pre-AP stayed about on the same level that they
Okay.
have been. My core and inclusion was hit or miss. Some of them did better, some of them did a lot worse.
Okay.
Mine did fairly well, but then again, I had 5 of them that I also have in elective,
Mm-hmm.
so they had greater exposure to it, and that did help with them. But overall, the Newton's law test went pretty well for me.
It wasn't too much further off of what they've been doing.
I looked back through the questions that were most often missed, and it comes back to what we said: math or reading.
That's right.
There comes a
The
point
bubbling.
at which
The
they just
calculating.
shut off. If you see them miss 3 questions in a row, you know that during that period of the day, they had just shut off.
Mm-hmm. Okay with that. So speaking of reading, what do y'all want to do to help them strengthen their reading comprehension besides modeling?
For time's sake, I don't know if we got a whole lot more than, other than
Yeah.
trying to get them to read, something once a week or so, where we got an article or something like we kind of have done. But then the modeling's going to help a lot, I would hope. I think the biggest thing for them is just identifying the question.
Right, circling.
So much of it, like, and I think my kids have gotten better at that because I keep harping on it. It's like, where's the question at? Where's the question at? Find the question. When they can finally find that question, a lot of times they'll realize that most of the other stuff doesn't even matter.
When I go through the STAR questions with them, that's exactly what I did. I said, which part of this do you not even need at all?
Yeah.
What do you need? What is the question? What do you need to answer the question? If you have to read it 3 times, that's why they give you 4 hours.
Yep, that's true. Okay. Alright, so just keep doing an article, keep reading. Does anybody else have any other ideas what's been working for them, at least? Because that's what I do. I just do a lot of modeling. And I make them circle keywords.
Yeah.
I make them label pictures.
Right.
So,
I think a lot of them don't realize or think about those things sometimes because, like, as we were going over that test today, like one of the questions, I drew a picture with it. And there wasn't a picture on the test, but I said, that's always a good
yeah.
test taking skill or strategy is draw you a picture, So I think if we do model some of those things, at least they will maybe think to do some of those things because they've seen it done.
True.
And maybe just insisting on it that it's on certain papers that they turn in for us,
Right.
you know.
That'd be good too. That's a good idea.
I think the STAR test tends to overuse pictures. They have pictures that include so much information that the student gets overwhelmed.
Yeah.
True, that's good. So we need to show them how to decipher through those too.
And it goes back to what you said, Caleb. They have to identify what the question is. What are we looking for?
Well, that's like in that one, on that Newton's test about work being done and showing the two elephants and with the mass underneath. And so we talked about that. You know, it's like, does it really matter what the mass of the elephants are?
Right.
No.
I had a lot of kids miss that.
It doesn't matter
because
what
of that, the mass. being
But-
there.
Yeah, one like
It's
that,
just
I looked at them
information.
and I covered everything up except the answers, and I said, which one of these is different?
Mm.
And the different was the one that was actually having something move.
Yeah.
Everything else was stationary.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's a test-taking skill.
Mhm.
When all else fails, study the answers.
Now there was you guys reminded me, there was one question in there that I thought, and you guys probably remember, the action-reaction question, where they were looking at the rocket.
The
Yeah, it was
rocket or the
way
balloon?
I think that-
too wordy.
That, the wordiness, and I think the
Just
academic one was not worded the same way as the pre-AP.
Uh-uh.
Pre-AP
It
was,
was very wordy.
it was wordy and convoluted.
Yes, it
I tell them
makes
anytime
sense.
they see a balloon or a rocket, it's the third law, period.
Mhm.
What else
Oh,
is
yeah.
it gonna do?
Well, action, reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We
the
don't
problem
know 1, 2,
was,
3.
is they had to read through this paragraph for each one of the answer choices. And one of them had the two key words, equal and opposite, but it was mixed in. And you had to almost search for it, and you had to know to search for those two words. If you didn't, you're gonna miss it, because the first choice looked really good, and that third choice looked really good, based on how wordy it was.
So, speaking of things being really wordy, we don't really have that on the QCA.
Yeah, it looks better.
Yeah.
Other than, I mean,
Just a lot of math,
yeah.
and that's what's going to hurt some of our kiddos.
This
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Mhm.
Alright, so we'll try to do some math during our warm-up
See,
stuff.
a lot of mine we're looking at A.
I saw that action, reaction, and just pick that.
Mm-hmm.
That's percentage.
Do you know that your clock isn't working?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It was not even.
Alright, and then as far as that goes, spiral and old material for warm-up or exit tickets, and then, so, for the most part, y'all wanna do 2 days of review, test on the 14th?
I think it'd be good.
I think
And
that'd be
I
good,
know
2 days.
Because they're gonna have to
I'll
go back to chemical equations. We need to.
I'm gonna have a bunch of them in my fifth period that are gonna have to test again on the 15th.
Okay,
That are going to have to. I'm gonna have to read it to them on the 14th, and then on the 15th, I'll have those that just,
need
No,
extra
wait, wait, wait.
time,
I think it's gonna take some of them 2 days.
Oh, no,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So do we want to like divide it up and it be fair as like to, you know, what they see, or do we want to just, I've already turned in the thing for them to be copied,
well, the
but
first 15, there's really not a lot of, I mean, there's 2 maybe, let's see. Knowledge. There's 1, 2, 3, 4,
There's
5.
30 questions is a lot.
7.
With 3
It's
good
about
ones.
8 math questions the first 15 minutes, or first, 15 questions. So that's about half of the first half.
I don't know.
at least they get it out of the way.
Well, I mean, you guys know, I mean, I think already this year there's been 2 tests where I've had many kids not finish in the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Same.
2 of them.
Mhm.
Well,
And
The other point of that is if we say we're allowing 2 days for it, there are kids who will purposely take 2 days.
I know. And there's some that are gonna finish real fast and they're just gonna pull their phones.
Well, it might be good to do is only give 15 at a time, but you actually get to be able to do a warm up because the days we have these tests, we can't do warm ups. We can't get their brains going.
Well, I
We
mean,
just
that's,
have to say, here you go. But I
That's
like
a
to, I like to
different-
give warm ups
Yeah.
before
What-
test.
what day are the kiddos gonna be gone? Because I know there's gonna be a lot gone that
It's the
weekend.
14th.
No, I think they leave the 15th. Let me look.
I wasn't aware that they would be out Wednesday.
Orchestra.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, they're out,
Thank you.
yeah, they're
All
out
three?
the whole time, right, so that's,
Because
so
they're going to.
Their meeting is 5:30 in the morning on Wednesday.
that's why I thought if we did it the day before, they would at least be able to take the test before they left for break.
And I'll leave that option for them.
Yeah.
Well,
but
what
then-
if I don't know.
What if they tell their friend? Is that what
I'm
you're
not
saying?
gonna go that route, because if
Oh,
they do
okay.
that, there's some ingenuity in that, yeah, hey, good for you guys.
I have 0 orchestra students.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if, even if you let the kids that are leaving early take it on Tuesday, are they even gonna be able to finish?
Right, they may not finish either.
Unless you just write them a pass and have them stay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just we can send out an email, just warn. Eighth grade
Come at
teachers.
lunch, give them lunch passes or something.
Just FYI, there's also a math test they're talking about getting them to come back during,
Mhm.
they're doing a math test that they're gonna let them take on Tuesday
Okay.
and letting them be like, well, we can have them during orchestra or they can come during lunch or something like that. So they're also doing the same thing for those same time. Just,
Right, so we need to factor that in.
Love it.
I mean, not, the orchestra kids will take it. They'll do what you need them to do, but
Right. So speaking of that, maybe we need to tell orchestra kids test could be open for them on Monday.
I mean, I don't care, if they wanna start
Well, you
taking,
can just give
give them
them
the first 15 that day or something.
Yeah.
And the next
Monday,
15 the
second,
next day.
15 Tuesday, if that's what they want to do, or if they want to.
And they're coming in during their orchestra time, or their,
I'll email her right now and see if we can work a deal just in case kids don't finish.
she's not gonna give them to you Monday and Tuesday.
Just
Well, I mean,
Okay.
Tuesday she might.
Just
Tuesday
maybe-
she might.
Okay.
But
Oh,
they're,
she might.
Tuesday, I think they're loading up the instruments.
Okay.
I think they're meeting, practicing early morning and loading up the instruments on Tuesday.
Okay.
But she's not giving up her last day of practice with
No,
them
I-
before going, probably.
Right.
I don't know how many of them there are, but. what if we
35.
had- Even if we did one teacher who started them
Yeah.
on Monday, and we sent the other kids to go do the whatever review we've got to the other teachers, split them up. That way one teacher can start testing
And
them.
then our problem is, when do we prep those kids?
Well,
Start
we can-
moving the.
we can
Unless
get- we
they're
can get
gonna
them-
have to do it over the
I
weekend.
was gonna say, we can give them a review packet
Give
and
them a
say,
review.
yeah,
Just
I'd
say
say
do it
they
over the
do get
weekend.
that ahead of time, that every student has access to that, you know, or even a weekend in
And
advance
just
or
tell
whatever.
them.
But as far as us actually taking class time to talk about any of it, we're just doing it those 2 days.
I gave you a clean copy of this, didn't I? Because the only copy I have left is my,
I believe,
Key.
yes, I believe I have a clean copy. I'll share that with you.
I don't have.
Okay, I was gonna say, I know you brought it in.
I
the
brought
one
them in,
day.
and I disseminated what I had, but I didn't remember to leave one for you.
Okay,
I think
so
I
we can go
have
make
it.
copies for everybody.
Alright,
Put it in the
so,
box down there.
so we can open to them Monday, we can do 15-15, give them a review for the weekend if they wanna take it Monday.
I mean, if we wanted to give them a review even earlier than that, if we've already got it, you know,
Yeah,
I don't
we can do
care.
that.
Right,
More
I
time, the
think-
better, next,
Well,
give
and
it to 'em
even-
next week, Monday.
yeah. Give them 10 minutes every day to work on it or something even.
That's a good idea. And then by the end of the week, or maybe that Monday, start going over it. So give them a week to do it, and that has all material on it, so that's
Yeah,
a good
they'll be able to
idea.
start on it.
Keep it,
Who
keep it.
came up with this the other night? They're just thinking off the top of my head, talking about a speed graph, right? Distance over time. And we've always said that this would be no movement, right?
Oh, I remember
But-
the girl last year.
But
The girl last year.
what if it's circling? Its distance from the origin is staying the same.
Yeah, because
It's
if it's
moving.
not,
It's not linear motion.
Yeah.
It's circular motion and torque, but it's just. Anything
Oh,
else?
you would think of that, Larry.
it would all
No,
depend, it would all
what
depend on
about
the
your
reference
girls?
point.
Wasn't it a student last year that
The
said
student
that?
last year?
Yeah.
I remember you saying that.
Because if the
That's
the reference point is the key.
Mhm.
Because depends on which reference point you're using. If the reference point is right in the middle of that, yeah, I shouldn't show no movement. But if it's
Yeah.
outside of that circle, which
I've been trying to teach them that with a motion graph, the origin is the reference point. Another wrinkle in the brain. And then,
hey, at least most of them can put 0 down there.
Yeah.
and then try to make them do a graph that doesn't start at 0.
Oh, ain't gonna happen.
Alright.
All right, so we can give them the QCA tomorrow. We keep moving it up. I mean, like,
Alright, I think that's everything for the QCA, so we know what's on it, we know what we need to hit to go over. And,
I'm gonna be taking my elective classes through energy transformation and motion graphs this week.
okay,
Probably sometime next week, I'm gonna let them do the foamy roller coasters.
the last, okay. After the QCA? Which I'm-
Probably.
Okay.
I got a
think
bunch
that's
of foam and boxes.
Good.
Cool
You
deal.
can have
That'd
any
be
of
good
it,
for them.
because I was just gonna put the foam somewhere in that storage and recycle my boxes, but I got a bunch of boxes.
Hang on to all that stuff as much as you can, if it's still usable.
I mean, most of it's still usable.
Mm-hmm.
Alright,
Okay.
think we're good.